Welcome back to the second episode of Motherhood is Wild, the podcast. And we have our first guest ever. This is Lauren Gardenbelle, and she is also a new mom to be, as well as a bus lifer.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we have kind of similar stories. Yeah. And we're just basically going to talk to you guys about how we feel and everything that is going on with that life, like that aspect of it, seeing as how we're both like living tiny and stuff. Mm-hmm. I guess you can kind of tell them a little bit about yourself, and then like, were you guys planning to get pregnant? Was it something that just happened?
Yeah. So we've been living in the bus for about 3 years, and we're running a shop out of the bus to support ourselves, and we hadn't really planned to have kids yet, but it was just something we were kind of like coming across over the summer. And so when we were building an Airbnb, and when we decided to kind of start traveling again, I decided I wanted to get the birth control removed because I haven't really experienced non-hormonal birth control for like 10 years. Mm-hmm. So that felt really good to get it removed, but I instantly became pregnant within like 4 weeks, which is cool. Like, we were really open to becoming pregnant. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting, and it was really cool because the beginning of my pregnancy and all throughout we've been traveling, so it's like I've really been able to just experience it differently. I mean, not a lot of people are traveling throughout their pregnancy, so it's been really cool.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like almost the opposite of where like that's the goal, mm-hmm. but I'm just stationary at the time,
right,
with building. And so, I mean, I didn't think I could get pregnant, so it was definitely a huge shock because we basically got pregnant very quickly. We weren't expecting it, but we're happy about it.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of pushed us to basically start nesting and like really think about our family and like what we want, and to go from, because when we first got pregnant and we had the 2 buses, like, we could totally do that, that's fine. And then I think now we're at the point where it's like really starting to feel real, mm-hmm. and we're like changing our minds about certain things, and like, whether or not we want to build the cabin or build a bigger bus and be in one space altogether without being too cramped versus having the 2 spaces. I think I mentioned it to you before, like having the 2 buses gives us each our own space, but it's either we're always separate or we're always cramped in one tiny space together.
Right.
And so you guys are kind of like set up to where you already have your big space, and you can start nesting and changing it to fit bringing a baby into your lives.
Yeah, we've experienced like a few changes in the longer bus where we started a shop, so we really had the opportunity to kind of sacrifice some of the extra space that we didn't need and run a shop out of there. So it is kind of cool to have that bigger space that provides you opportunity for like new adventures, like having a baby. So yeah, it would be really cool if you guys went a little bigger. Mm-hmm. I was envisioning like with the shorter buses, like you guys went on a trip, oh shit, we left the bottles or something in the mm-hmm. other bus.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be juggling 2 spaces at once is a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, and that's totally me. Like, if I don't have all of my stuff in one space, I always forget stuff. Yeah. Like, when we went on our trip in Vin Diesel, once that was done to kind of make sure everything was working correctly, I forgot so much stuff. And then in Bussy, when we went on the trip, I didn't forget I didn't forget a bunch of stuff like I did, but I just didn't have enough.
Right.
And so it's like, I'm the type of person where I dress for comfort, and I want to, like, I want to be cute, but I also want to make sure I'm comfortable, because I'll just be miserable if I'm not dressed comfortably. And so, like, sometimes I'll wear an outfit and it feels comfortable, but then the next day it doesn't, you know? And so, like, I didn't have enough clothes to change. And so I was wearing the same things over and over again, which is fine, but sometimes I'm just like, I wish I had a t-shirt and sweatpants. Or I wish I had this other dress that I just feel more comfortable in versus, like, this outfit that I have today. And so, like, it's hard to go on those trips where I don't have my whole life with me.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that stems from living this lifestyle and just always having it there, and then like to go on trips now in buses that aren't mine or rigs that aren't mine, and I'm just like, I don't have all my things, and I wish I had all my things.
Right.
So it's like, I'm going to be that person that if we're in 2 buses, I'm going to forget something of the babies that we need, and we'll have to either buy it or go back and get it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about that. And like, that's definitely the type of person that I am.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking you could... Yeah, it's cool to have a space. I mean, I really love the idea that we don't have a storage unit and that we have like all of our important documents that people have in an office, like we have it all crammed in there. Mm-hmm. And sure, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, you know, if something went wrong, but we are really adamant about fire safety and just trying to keep an eye on everything to make sure everything stays safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how I want to be too. Like, I want to be able to have just everything in there.
Yeah.
I have friends who like live van life and the nomadic lifestyle and stuff, and they have storage units that literally have an entire house of furnished stuff.
Yeah.
But they're living this life right now, and then that's, I guess, for later.
Yeah.
But I think we'll probably live like this for a long time, and even if we don't, we'll always have the option to be on the road or take trips. But it's not like, I guess it's different if like you're living in a cabin and you take a trip and you're prepared to take that trip versus like jumping from one vehicle to the other and then forgetting stuff, because you're always in that mindset of like, I'm in a bus, this is my house, usually all my stuff is here.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be spread out between the two, so it'd make it easier to forget.
Yeah, it's really cool how becoming pregnant, and it just really does make you reframe things like that. Like, I think that's so cool that you guys are considering a larger bus now. You know, we're having similar thoughts. We're like, well, we bought a plot of land, it didn't work out, and now we're like, okay, we know how we're gonna secure a plot of land so that it works out this time. For us, it's getting land and, you know, kind of how Isaac was saying, just getting land to kind of have your own spot. So it is really cool how it's making us reframe our thinking.
Yeah.
In a way.
I feel like a lot of people say like, oh, you're nesting.
Yeah.
And it's like, I never really felt like I was until more recently.
Yeah.
And I really am starting to think more about the baby. And I feel like sometimes people might judge you for not thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Like, especially for me putting my life out there on the internet via YouTube, I might say something in passing and not even really truly have thought through it, like about the baby, and some people might think I'm absolutely insane or crazy for thinking that thought and putting it out there, but it's like, I'm not actually like dead set on whatever I said. I completely change. I probably changed my mind 1,000,000 times in 1 week about everything.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a lot to kind of put. I don't like to be the person that says I'm going to do something and then I like totally change my mind and do something else.
Right.
But I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, especially with this build in particular, I was like, I have these puck lights, and I was like, no, I'm going to use the track lights, they're brighter. And then it went back to, well, I already have the puck lights, so I'm just going to use the puck lights. And then I wasn't going to do cedar on the walls, and I just decided one day to completely change my entire layout and do cedar on the walls. And so it's like, I'm just so back and forth, and I change my mind all the time. But it's like talking to Isaac and like talking about what we want and stuff, and like if we were gonna do a bigger bus, if we were gonna do a cabin and it's something that we do together, we would talk about it together, and I would have someone else there to kind of be like, okay, we talked about it, this is what we're gonna do. And he's the type of person that's like, he does what he plans for everything,
right?
And I'm more of a go with the flow type person. But having him there will be easier for me to like stick to one plan, and so it's easier to like have someone to bounce off of ideas with.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I don't know, it's definitely more so now. I feel like I'm nesting than I was in the beginning, and not truly thinking about it but just kind of saying what I'm thinking, but not really set on what I'm thinking.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think nesting is so different when you're living this kind of lifestyle. It's hard to recognize it as nesting. I feel like for me, it's been like the first time we did like a full-time travel at 9 or 10 months in, we were like, okay, we're kind of feeling aimless, like we want to get a plot of land, we want to start a project. So we went and built the Airbnb, but now we're like 4 months into traveling and I'm like, I'm ready to get a plot of land. Like we're ready to head back east and just kind of start preparing for the baby. For no reason other than, I guess, nesting. It just looks different when you're not already in a home. It's kind of like, for us, we're like, okay, let's get some land.
Yeah, and I think that's something like most people don't think about it like that either. And so, and not everyone's going to be in the position to be like, you know, like, Isaac and I have talked about buying land, but we may not find a piece of land anytime soon.
Right.
That's in our budget. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like a lot of people see what we're doing and see this lifestyle and they think like it's not your typical lifestyle and people think it's not attainable. But there's so many people on the road right now that are raising their kids in vans and in buses or RVs or trailers or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, it's totally doable.
Yeah.
100%. It's just not everyone has the vision for it, or not everyone. I mean, my sister could never do what I do. Yeah. But that's just because she has a certain, like, this is what the lifestyle that she wants. This just isn't what she wants.
Right.
So she's, you know, bought a home and, like, she's raising her kids in, like, a big, huge, nice home. And, like, that's great.
Yeah.
This isn't for her. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. Totally. For another person.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have a kid and raise a kid, like, on the road, and I want to eventually, when we do get land, like, I want my kids to know how to, like, garden and, you know, raise their own animals and raise their own food, because I'm not vegan by any means, but I do love animals and stuff, and I would rather raise my own food and know, like, that, like, what it was fed and how it was raised,
right,
and know that it had a good home, and now I'm able to, you know, the circle of life, and I'm able to feed my family and know that they're eating good meat that's not pumped with all kinds of crazy stuff, like hormones and, you know, whatever they put into the meat, because store-bought meat can be extra, like, especially the chicken can be so big, and it's like, I've raised chickens, I know that's not how big they get.
Yeah.
They're on growth hormones 100%. So I want to be able to raise my kids to know, like, to live a more simple life and a more self-sustainable life, and, you know, on the road and, like, meeting new people and being in all kinds of different environments, but to, like, grow up to see the world. And if that's something that they want to continue when they're adults, like, they have the option. But, like, I didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
So I've always had that itch to travel. And I think it's because of that, because I didn't have that growing up. So it'd be cool to kind of raise my kid in this environment and in this lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have met some where we were parked on a farm stationary for the first year. Some of the kids that live there are so inspiring to us because they're homeschooled, and although they're not living nomadically, it kind of goes hand in hand, like living sustainably, like you said, and kind of like growing your own food. And they're so knowledgeable about these particular types of hens, and they go out early in the morning and they move the pen and they feed their animals, and they're super knowledgeable about all the different breeds of birds that they're raising. And it's really inspiring to see, like, these kids are learning regular subjects, but they're also really passionate about learning and passionate about just education, about things that are firsthand and things that they're actually doing. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it's like, my mom grew up, like, around farm animals. Like, she used to say that she hates goat milk because she was forced to drink it as a kid.
Oh.
And it's like, I won't force my kids necessarily to do anything. Like, they'll eat what we give them to a certain point, and then, of course, as you get older, like one of my nephews, and I don't know if it's because he's raised in the city, if that has anything to do with it. But
Yeah.
like for a while it was like only chicken nuggets, only french fries. He wouldn't eat anything else. But it's like if your kids aren't necessarily exposed to that, they're not even gonna think like that.
Right.
I think it does have, and my sister is like a full-time nurse. Like she used to be very particular about what she fed my niece, like her first kid, and then like now it's pretty much just like, as long as you're eating,
Yeah.
I'll give you whatever as long as you're eating.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some kids refuse to eat anything unless it's what they want.
Right.
And so it's like, I am going to try to like expose my children to healthier options, and just to grow up not really knowing any different. And then, you know, as they get older, they're gonna go to their friend's house and they're gonna have pizza and they're gonna have all these things, and I don't want to take any of that away from them. Like, we don't eat perfectly. Like,
Yeah.
they will eat ice cream and pizza and stuff, but I don't want that to be like a all the time thing.
Right.
I want them to know that, you know, about health and about like raising your own food and why you should do it.
Totally.
Yeah. And I love gardening too, so it'll be cool to like pass that along too.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we don't know when the world's gonna end.
I know. I really miss gardening. That was something that I had before we started this lifestyle. Gardening and composting are all things that like you kind of give up when you travel. But yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to doing as well. I miss gardening.
Yeah, I miss it a lot. It's such like a great stress reliever.
Yeah, it's so satisfying to grow plants. It's like growing kids. You know, you start them off from seeds and then you watch them grow, and then they provide you food, and it's just really amazing.
Yeah, I've grown some pretty wild stuff that was not edible. But I mean, I learned and, you know, I tried. And
Yeah.
it's like stuff for me that I haven't been successful in growing were like watermelons or whatever.
Yeah.
I think one year I grew watermelons and cantaloupe too close together, and it like emerged.
Oh, okay.
And there was like some kind of thing, and it kind of tasted like cantaloupe, but it wasn't sweet, and it was really hard.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it's like, it wasn't bad, but it's like you're, I guess, supposed to plant watermelons like far away from other stuff, because they'll like intertwine and like.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
And create their own
yeah.
like, offspring. That's crazy. I had a bunch of stuff grow that I didn't plant from my compost pile, like squash and pumpkins. I had like take over my whole garden from the previous year. But that was cool. I used them as decor on my steps and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, good fall decor if all else fails.
Yeah.
I'm really excited too. Like, we don't know what our future holds, whether we're going to do a bigger bus or like a tiny house at this point.
Yeah.
But I think just living small in general scares people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's why people enjoy watching other people do it. Because it isn't always glamorous, and I feel like people are more drawn to the struggle than they are the actual like lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know, I feel like that always gets more attention.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that this is going to be, of course it's going to be a challenge. But I don't think it's going to be any more of a challenge than like living in a normal, by society standards, life. Like raising your kids a certain way.
Yeah, I don't think so either, especially when we have experience. I mean, moving into the bus, or like building a bus, moving in first as soon as you have the baby and it's your first experience, that's way different. Like, we all have experience living this way for a few years, so it's really just normal for us. We're just adding the usual, like, stress, I guess, of having a baby. But I mean, we have 5 dogs in our bus. I feel like that is a handful, but it also has prepared us in a way. You know, we're not attached to things getting ruined from throw up or like whatever else comes out of the dogs at any given time. So yeah, I feel like I agree. People also find the struggle more entertaining. but we don't share it a lot because it's very short. Like, struggles in the bus are like a one-day thing because it was raining. We ran out of solar and it's super muddy. And like, let's be real. If you aren't living in a bus and you're living in a house and you have a really stressful day at work, you're not going on Instagram and sharing, oh my God, like, this is all it, like, no, you're just not. Some people do, and that's, you know, sometimes we vent and sometimes we share the struggles, but not everyone does that. So I think the pressure for us to do that is unwarranted, you know? But I get people want to know behind the scenes, but sometimes it's just like, you'd rather just sleep it off and move on to the next day.
Yeah, like, I totally agree. I have 2 cats, and BB, she was found after a really bad thunderstorm, and she was only like 3 or 4 days old.
Oh my gosh.
And so when she wound up opening her eyes, one of them was like really infected, and then her nose was always runny, and I've taken her to the vet like multiple times. And so one of her eyes is kind of like glazed over, and she's partially blind in that eye, and then she always has like really bad mucus. So she just snot rockets all the time. And they're disgusting. But it's like, I'm used to that. And to me, it's nothing new. And so, like, I'm constantly wiping her eyes off. I'm constantly getting the boogers out of her nose. Like, I use the little baby booger nose thing on my cat already to suck the boogers out. Because sometimes she gets really, like, congested.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one knows that. I do not share that information.
Right.
And it's like, you only know that if you, like, know me personally and you've seen me around my cats. And it's nothing new to me. Like, to me, like, I've had people say, like, what are you going to do with your cats now that you're pregnant? Are you going to get rid of them? They're known to suffocate babies and all this stuff. And it's like, yes, that has happened, but they're not known for that.
No,
like,
not at
that's
all.
not
I've
a
never
thing.
heard of that. What do they mean? Like putting the paws on the baby, or
They'll
lay on top?
Yeah, lay on top.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, they're not known for that.
No.
And there's so many stories I hear about just like the beautiful bond that like the pets have with the babies and stuff. It's more rare that you hear about like the like animals attacking them or suffocating them on accident. And it's like, they are my kids too. Like, I know that like, some people will tell me like, oh, that's terrible for you to say. Like, they're not like, there's a difference between pets and kids. But it's like, in reality, if you have dogs or if you have cats, like, in any pet in general, they came first. To me, like, those are Ember's big sisters.
Yeah.
And they will always be a part of my family. And if I do have issues with them being around the baby, I'll figure it out. But I'm not just going to get rid of my cats because I'm having a kid.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
They're family too. And, I mean, it's like no different than having a toddler and then a newborn. And your toddler's doing crazy stuff to the baby, and it's like, you gotta just separate them and figure it out.
Yeah, totally.
And so I'm sure, like, for people to hear, like, oh, you have like 5 dogs, that's crazy. And it's like, it's not, maybe it's crazy to you, but it's not, like, it's normal to you.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, I'm working from home, so it's manageable. If I had 5 dogs and I worked, let's say back at my teaching job where I was there from 7 a.m. to almost like 6 p.m., yeah, it's a little inhumane to leave 5 dogs for like that amount of time. But that's not our situation. You know, we have 5 dogs, but we have the opportunity to give them a good life. So it's a little different.
Yeah, and yeah, I didn't even think about that too being a factor of you working from home and you're able to be there for them.
Right.
And so it's like, it's not even going to be like, you're going to be with your baby all the time.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, I just thought of something like childcare costs is not something that we will really have since we work remotely and kind of have built our, like, you built your YouTube and I built kind of the shop and whatnot. Just kind of cool to think about.
Yeah. I mean, I had never, since like wanting kids and like it being a real idea, I've always, from like those points, I've been making a living off of social media. So it was always in my head that I was going to be with my baby all the time. And
Yeah.
like, I don't even like being away from my cats. This is the longest I've been away from them this month ever. And Halo is going to be 6 this summer, and BB will be 5 this summer.
Yeah.
Or 7 and 6. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But like, we went on our 2-week trip, and then I got sick, and that was another almost 2 weeks. So it's been almost a month since I've seen my cats, and it's been very, very hard.
Yeah,
So
that's a long time.
Yeah. So now I'm like thinking about the baby, and it's like, I don't even, if it affects me and makes me so sad to be away from my cats, I can only imagine what it would be like to have to be away from my daughter.
Right.
Like, I've always loved my cats so immensely that it kind of terrified me to, if I ever did have kids, like how much I would love them. I feel like it'd be too much to bear if I had to be away from her or something, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I've thought of one situation where I might not want the dogs around for a short period of time, and it's like, since we're gonna but like our plan, I just don't want to say it's like a solidified plan because you never know what could happen, but like our plan right now is to do a home birth in the bus. And you've seen kind of how the dogs act with new people. Like, they're just a little crazy, especially Benji. So I have kind of thought, like, I'd love to have the dogs there for the birth, but I'm just thinking it might be a little overwhelming with midwives in the bus and how Benji acts. I'm thinking that might be the one time where I might, like, need somebody else to take the dogs. Just so that I can have that serenity, because it is kind of,
I mean, it's a stressful situation.
yeah, and you've seen how the dogs get. I mean, like, they're a little bit too excited, and like, I can't be having that when I'm like giving birth in the bus. I think that's going to be the one scenario where I'm going to be wanting to pawn off the dogs for just a day.
Well, and it's like, they're not going to know what's going on, so they're going to be even hyper aware of like,
right, and I'm going to be like yelling and like
you.
bleeding and stuff. Yeah,
Benji's like, what's going on with my mom?
Yeah,
I'm freaking out. I can see that.
Yeah, so that, I don't know, I just thought of it because of how Benji kind of acts with new people. I'm sure that he will meet the midwives beforehand, so that might kind of ease that stress for me. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
I honestly don't know where my cats are going to be when I have the baby, because I'm going to be having Ember in a hospital in Eugene, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to put other people's business out there, but I may not necessarily have a place to stay in Eugene. So it's more than likely we'll either get a hotel or an Airbnb for a minute.
Yeah.
Just like during that time, because Isaac's parents are flying in, my mom's trying to fly in, my sister possibly, my best friend. Like, we're gonna have a lot of people here when Ember gets here.
Yeah.
And so,
so exciting.
We might drive the buses, like if we still have one of the ones that are already built out, and then my bus, drive it down to Eugene and just find a place to stay. But I mean, cats like take care of themselves, so I can leave them in the bus if I need to, or like in a hotel room. It's fine.
Would you ever like leave them here, or you bring them and kind of leave them?
It depends on how long we're going to be gone. Yeah. I don't like to leave them by themselves for more than a week. Yeah. As long as they have like plenty of food and water, they'll be fine for a week on their own. And like they have a self-cleaning litter box, and so it's like, cats truly take care of themselves.
Yeah, it's cool. That's like so cool. I was like, you said I could leave them for a week. Like, I wish I could. The dogs are so needy, but it's all good.
Like, I used to have a lot of dogs, like in past relationships, but I love dogs, but I like, and I know that this is funny to say now, but to me, dogs are like babies. So I love my friends' dogs, but I can give them back. And
right. So yeah, totally. No, I get it. It's like, they don't have a litter box, and with 5 of them, there's like 10 poops a day, and it's like, it's a lot. But yeah, they're definitely like babies.
And then, but now it's like, okay, now I do have a baby, and it's not where it's like, oh, you're so cute, you're crying, I can give you back. You have a poopy diaper, I'm gonna give you back. Like, now that's my responsibility. Yeah.
So now I have 2 cats and a dog.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm really excited though to meet her. This whole pregnancy has not been fun for me. My first trimester was really hard. I was nauseous all the time. I was completely exhausted. And when I went into my second trimester, I really did start to feel more like myself, and I was getting that energy back. Yeah. And they say going into the third trimester, you go back to like the first, how you felt then, like not necessarily the nausea, but being tired and stuff. Yeah. And I think at this point I'm technically 6 months, but I'm at the beginning of the 6th month. So we have, we still have a few months to go, but I'm not looking forward to the third trimester. I hope it's not like that for me. Yeah.
It seems like it's really different for everyone. For what I've noticed is, like, I feel like what our moms had, it's kind of similar. Like, I don't know if you know how your mom's pregnancies were, but I feel like mine is similar to how my mom's was.
Does she have, like, are you the only child, or?
I have a brother, yeah, but with hers, I mean...
Were they similar?
I believe so, yeah, where, like, I didn't experience any morning sickness or anything. I had some other weird kind of symptoms, but just really tired. I mean, I'm thankful, because being nauseous, I know, is, like, terrible in itself, but I feel like I'm super sensitive to that, so when I do feel like that, I want to die. Like, it is bad when I feel like I want to throw up all the time, or if I am throwing up, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I never actually puked, but I just felt like I was going to all the time. Yeah. No matter what I ate, if I didn't eat, like, I just felt sick. Yeah. It was pretty miserable. But my mom has 8 kids, and so all of them were kind of different. Yeah. And she did say that, because, like, Ember she moves around a lot more now, but she, for a long time, I would feel when she moved, she just didn't move a lot. Yeah. And my mom said that when she was pregnant with me, she had to get, like, special testing, like stress tests done, because I'd never moved around. Aww. So I haven't really talked to her too much about, like, her pregnancies and the differences in them and stuff. It's more like, this is what I'm feeling, did you ever feel that way? Yeah, is this normal? But I mean, she's definitely the person I go to if I have questions. Like, 8 kids, she's a nurse, and so it's nice to have someone to go to for advice. And my sister's a nurse too, and she has 3 kids, and so I'm definitely thankful that I'm a little bit older. Before, like, I couldn't imagine how my life would have turned out if I would have had kids when I was, like, 22. And, like, that's when my sister had her first kid, when she was 22.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I remember feeling like, I don't know, you just get so scared, especially with the way that our, like, sex ed was and where I'm from. It was kind of like, every year I was like, well, I made another year and I don't have kids, or, like, I didn't become pregnant. That's, like, it was kind of like a scary thing to think about. So, yeah, it was really cool for me to, like, be able to decide, okay, I think I'm ready now. Like, something clicked. Rather than it happen and us not be prepared. I'm sure, like, life would still be okay. But, like you said, so much transitional stuff happened for me throughout my early 20s that it's cool to kind of, like, make it your own on your own watch.
Yeah, I definitely would not be living the way that I live if I had a baby early on. Yeah. 100%. Like, at the time when I was 22, I had a really nice loft downtown apartment right in downtown Dallas, and I loved it. I'm early 20s, partying all the time. Like, all my friends, like, the only thing people wanted to do back then was just, like, party and drink. Yeah. It was, like, after, like, when I turned, I think, like, 24 was when it was really, like, a pivotal moment where I was like, I don't want to drink and party anymore. I want to do something with my life. And that's kind of when I got into like more of the tiny mindset. Like my partner at the time, I was like really gung-ho, like looking into like tiny houses. Like you could buy like shed to house kits.
Oh yeah.
And I was looking at those and like trying to get my partner on board, and like his parents had a lot of land like pretty close to where we already lived anyways. Mm-hmm. And it was like we could do it in their backyard and blah blah blah, and like he just was more just I don't think ever grew out of the party phase.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm still really good friends with his brother and stuff, but it's like he's still the same way where he just like parties and stuff all the time, and he wants to be a rock star, and it's like that was just something that I grew out of and I didn't want to do anymore. Yeah. And then we went not long after that we broke up, and I slowly but surely like made my way into that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And if we would have had a kid together, I don't think I ever would have made it to any of that. I would not be where I'm at today. Yeah. So it's wild to think about, and I'm super grateful that if it was going to happen, like it happened now. Mm-hmm. with Isaac versus anyone that I've ever been with. Right. And this particular time in my life, and I'm almost 30 years old, and so it's like I feel like it's just a really good timing, and I'm really really grateful for that, because we're not in control. Right. Really and truly. Like you kind of planned for it, but you weren't expecting exactly when it was going to happen. Right. Yeah, I mean, we weren't planning for it, we just kind of we're okay with it happening. Knew it, right, it might happen. And then it happened. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and so when I was terrified to tell Isaac I was pregnant, because I was like not even convinced myself when I found out. Damn. That's crazy. Yeah, but it does make me feel good to like hear him say that it felt right and that he wanted to do this with me. Yeah. And so especially when you haven't been together that long, to like make that kind of commitment is a big deal. Yeah, definitely. And it's really cool. We both are super stoked, and it seems like it worked out. It was meant to be. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a real fight. Like we've had conversations that like if I have an issue, if he has an issue, like we just talk about it. Totally. And one thing I appreciate with him, and I try and do the same, is like if I do something that makes him uncomfortable, or if he does something that makes me uncomfortable, and I express that, he apologizes, takes responsibility, and he changes. Like it doesn't happen again. Right. And I, try and do the same as well. And it's not those are not conversations we have all the time. Right. But it's nice to know like that's the person I'm going to be raising a kid with. Totally. Yeah, I feel the same about Joe. You really know you're in like a mature, healthy relationship when, like, same, Joe and I don't raise our voice at each other for 3 years, never really have at all. We just conversate, like, hey, this has been bothering me, like, you said it the other day, and we were kind of joking, but I think it kind of bothered me. Just being real, and yeah, it brings you so much comfort knowing that you're bringing in a kid with somebody that you can just talk to about anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like love the idea that you kind of found out you're pregnant and you weren't expecting it, and like having to tell Isaac. For us, it was like, I don't know, I had a feeling that like it could happen, so I ended up, I was taking, or like I took an ovulation test and I knew I was ovulating, so I knew it was possible. And then like a week later, I started taking pregnancy tests because I was like, I'm either definitely pregnant or not. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I don't know, I kind of felt like, because literally I just felt tired right off the bat. I started sleeping throughout the day, mm-hmm. and I could kind of tell, and the lines started showing up, mm-hmm. really faintly. And then like the next day I took the digital one and it said pregnant, and I was like, we still have it in there. I have all of them. I'll throw them away eventually. I just don't know what to do with them. Like, I still have mine. I think I only took 2, and they were both positive, and then we went to like Planned Parenthood to know for sure. Yeah. But I still have them. I don't even know if the lines are still there. Yeah. I haven't seen them since then, but I did keep them. don't know what I'm gonna do with them.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe put them in a scrapbook or a baby box or something.
That'd be cool. Yeah, but you only want one kid.
I do, like, in my heart, I feel like I just want one.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the door open for that to change, just in case.
Yeah.
But I just want one. Isaac wants two. So, I mean, maybe that'll change and we do have two.
Yeah.
But I do just, as of right now, I just want one.
Yeah. I feel like you'll never know until you have Ember here. For me, I just have no idea. I can't see myself having just one child, but I know that there's, like, birth trauma that happens, and, like, sometimes things go wrong and you only end up being able to have one kid. So, like, I'm totally aware of that situation, but I feel like I won't know until we have our baby in our hands. But knowing us, I mean, we love to love on everything, and, like, we have 5 dogs. We could have more, we would. Right now, I gotta cap it at 5 because we're like, okay, this is enough. But I'd be surprised if we only had one. But we'll see what happens. Like, I'll be grateful for one healthy baby. You know, that's good.
Yeah, like, that's how I felt. Like, when I first found out that I was pregnant, I was like, I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. Like, I've always wanted a girl. I always saw myself as a girl mom.
It's so cute.
But I was totally fine with having a boy.
Yeah.
And especially because I felt like I was gonna have a girl from day one.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that it was gonna be a girl.
That's so cool.
And then everyone on YouTube was like, no, you're gonna have a boy. And then it got in my head, and I was just like, you know what? I'm okay either way. Like, I just want a healthy baby. That's all I want. And then it was a girl. So I was like, I knew it. Yeah.
That's cool. I feel the opposite. I feel like I've always meant to be like a boy mom, and I feel like it's probably a boy. I don't know, just something's telling me, but we'll see. Like you said, I mean, I don't care either way. If it's a girl, she's gonna grow up playing in the mud and super, like, tomboyish, because that's just our lifestyle. But if it is a boy, Lord help me, because Joe was 13 pounds, and I'm, like, definitely nervous about... I don't even know if the midwifery that I've signed up with offers pain medication. I gotta figure that out, because, like, with a 13-pound baby, like, ouch.
Because if you have a midwife, they don't do epidurals, right? Or do they?
I don't believe they have epidurals, but they have...
something?
I think they have, like, some sort of pain medication. They do have, like... I know they bring with them, like, IVs in case you need fluids or, like, basic hospital stuff. Just, like, remotely.
Yeah, because I didn't really look into midwives, but I did see, like, the options that I had. They were all, like, right by the hospital, like, within, like, 10 minutes or something. I mean, I've thought about it. I'm just kind of terrified to have a baby. Like, it's a scary thing to think about.
It is scary, and I just feel like, so with my history, like having a cleft lip and palate, I've been in and out of hospitals my whole life, and I'm just kind of, like, triggered by doctors and just hospital settings. I get really anxious, and I know that for me, if I can be in the bus or around my dogs or Joe or my home, I feel like it may end up going more smoothly. But I also feel comfort in knowing that we'll be birthing near a hospital in case. Like, I'm totally open to a hospital birth. I'm not against it at all. I don't know. I think the environment is important to me and might actually help it go more smoothly.
Yeah, and I mean, I have read that, you know, the position, like, the birthing position can matter a lot and can help a lot. In hospitals, you know, they do it on your back, and that's not traditionally the best way or the easiest way on your body. So it's like, I feel like they both definitely have their pros and cons.
Yeah, but think about how many people have given birth on their back. I mean, like...
Well, most people give birth at hospitals.
Right, exactly. So it's doable, and, you know, it'll all be worth it when Ember is here.
I'm still terrified, though.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess the biggest thing for me is, like, I'm more afraid of, like, if something were to go wrong and I wasn't at the hospital... And say I'm 10 minutes away, a lot can happen in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I want those 10 minutes to be at the hospital, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, like, that's just me personally, a fear of mine that, like, that's why I'm going to do it at a hospital versus having a midwife. Because a lot of people suggest going the midwife route. And I totally get that. And I'm not against it or anything. Yeah. I'm just kind of terrified. Yeah. So I'm just going to do it in a hospital because that's what I know.
That's what's so cool is doing it how you want to. And, I mean,
my mom did it 8 times. So I tell her she's crazy all the time. Like, I couldn't imagine having 8 children.
No, that's amazing. It's just so much, like, birth, but then after birth, and, like... That's a lot. I feel like a lot of people use midwives after they have a hospital birth, but for me, this is my first pregnancy, so I feel like it's less common. I don't know, honestly, I got introduced to it on TikTok, watching a bunch of, like, mom content, and that I found over the summer, and I was inspired. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I need to dive into the mom life on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because there was a summer where I wasn't on TikTok, but I was, like, into TikTok, and I would just, like, hours scrolling videos and stuff. And, I mean, I found a lot of, like, amazing musical artists on TikTok.
Yeah.
And, like, some of my favorite artists now I found on TikTok. But then it was, like, too much, and it was too consuming, and I was like, I need to, like, chill out.
Yeah.
And I had to download the app, or delete it for a while. And then, like, I recently downloaded it again, but so that I could create on there, not to consume on there. But I do think that it can be beneficial, like, in this sense of, you know, seeing what other moms are dealing with, and, like, those birthing videos that you talk about and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just exposed me to a bunch of stuff that, like, I feel like you have to figure out a lot on your own when you give birth. I mean, like, I was sitting in the bus last night, like, starting a baby registry after you mentioned yours, and I was like, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, what do I put on there? Like, there's so many different kinds of everything, and it's like, you really don't know. Like, there's no guide. So having other moms that, you know, live a similar lifestyle, like eco-friendly, sustainable, and what they're recommending, it's kind of cool to have that recommendation. Kind of like I was talking with Isaac about his recommendations for video cameras with someone that I know is well versed in it. It's cool to get other people's opinions, but with TikTok it's very addicting, and you're also consuming a lot of other content that can stress you out. So it's a give or take on TikTok.
Yeah. I definitely had to call my sister. And I mean, I could have called my mom too, but she's just not. So my mom hasn't had a kid in 24 years. My sister has an 8-year-old. So she's a little bit, you know, she still remembers a little bit more than my mom probably would. And she's used products that weren't around when my mom was having her last kid. So I, like, definitely called her and was like, so I'm making this registry. Can I add you as, like, a co-partner or whatever?
Oh, good idea.
So she added a whole bunch of stuff on there and took some stuff down. And, like, I had, I think, Pampers on there, diapers, and she was like, anytime I've used Pampers, they give the babies rashes, and they're known for that. So she was like, the best thing to use is Huggies. And so there's that.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, how would you know?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
And then, like, the baby getting a rash is something where, like, I can see it now. I'll be freaking out. Like, what did I do? Or, like, what is causing it? And, yeah, it's really cool to kind of, like, eliminate by talking to other moms.
And I've seen, like, they have diapers that you can they're basically like a newer version of, like, the cloth diapers from back in the day that you can just wash and stuff. But it's like, as amazing as that is, like, I love the idea, that's not sustainable for living nomadically when I don't have a washer and dryer, when I'd have to like wash it in my sink. It's kind of gross. And you don't want certain things like in your gray water anyways. And so it's like I'm just not in the right environment to use those reusable diapers.
Right. Yeah.
And it just is what it is.
Yeah, that's something that we would totally do. But like you said, I mean, you're going to have to be at a laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't even think you're supposed to do that kind of laundry at the laundromat. I don't know. But yeah, that is something that's totally aligned with our lifestyle. But if we're being real, as a first-time mom, I don't think that cloth diapering is going to be a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I think just keeping the baby healthy is going to be our priority.
Yeah.
And sure, it's going to be more trash, which is also not ideal on a bus and when you're traveling or just stationary in general, but gotta do one thing or the other.
When it's like, if you think about it, if you had a cloth diaper and your baby poops in the cloth diaper, even if you live in a house, how are you going to get that poop out before you wash it? You're going to take toilet paper or napkins and you're going to still be using something.
Right.
Flushing it down the toilet and then washing it, which is using water and electricity. So it's kind of like you're trying to do your best and do your part, but at the same time you have to be realistic about how much, like, how much of a difference is it between using those paper towels and that toilet paper and flushing it down the toilet and washing that diaper versus just using a diaper.
Right.
That's disposable.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's a give or take.
Yeah, it hurts to throw it in the landfill, but I feel like we are protecting so many other parts of the environment, living this lifestyle. I mean, using just the way that we're living, using like minimal water. So it's a give and take scenario.
Yeah. It is nice to have someone that you can, go to, like you said. And like if I didn't have my mom and my sister, there's so many people online too. I guess kind of circles back to like TikTok, and same thing goes for like YouTube and Instagram. It's like you can follow these other moms and stuff. When we had our pregnancy scare with Ember possibly having Turner syndrome, I researched it so much, and I wound up following a few people because it's not like it's a very rare thing. And I wound up following a few people that their daughters do have Turner syndrome on like Instagram, and they have no idea who I am, but it's inspiring to like see that and to know like if Ember wound up having it, that I had these other moms who are dealing with the same thing, and like that I could relate to.
Right.
And so it's like I still follow them and I still admire them for what they're doing, and like it's I get to watch their babies grow up now.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Are you gonna do genetic testing?
I don't know. I think so. That's coming up for us. Genetic testing is.
So they take your blood, and they test the baby's DNA through your blood, and just to see if your baby possibly has any type of disease or condition.
Oh, okay.
And then they also scan you to see if you have any carriers for anything.
Okay.
And then if you're a carrier for certain things, they'll say, this is what it is, this is what your baby's at risk for. Do you want to also test Joe and see if you're both carriers? Because if you're both carriers, then your baby might possibly have it.
Okay, I see. Yeah. I'm not sure. I know we'll do like the anatomy scan, and I think we might find out the gender just for us at that time, but I don't think that we'll probably do the genetic testing.
The main reason I wanted to do it was because there's a lot of people who don't do it. They opt out because they're like, I love my baby no matter what, because a lot of times like if it's a condition, doctors will suggest you abort it.
Right.
But it's like, that's not why I did it. Yeah. But if my daughter or my son was going to be born with some type of condition, that if I know about it now, I can help them as soon as they're born, get the help, get whatever they need.
Right.
Versus them being born and no one knows that they have a condition until it starts to show up. And then it's like, what could I have done before to help them live a better life than they have now because we didn't know.
Right.
So that's my big thing.
And they take your blood for that?
Yeah, they take your blood, they do the baby's DNA through your blood, and then if, like in my case, I did I forget what it's called.
I forgot too, but it's that fluid.
Yeah, where they take the fluid out. But then they're able to test the baby's DNA directly.
Yeah. Amniotic.
Amniotic. It's like
fluid,
amniocentesis or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Is what the procedure is called.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think we'll do... Yeah, I mean, that's really something to consider. Now I'll consider it, really.
Yeah, I have a lot of people say, like, don't do that. Like, that's... They just want to kill your baby, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not it at all.
No. Yeah. I totally understand why people would do that. And like you said, it might really change the baby's life if you're able to kind of give them care for whatever the diagnosis is, rather than let it brew for 3 years untreated or something, because it takes a while to really diagnose young kids with certain things.
If your baby has spinal issues, they're not going to know until she or he starts walking.
Right.
Like, what could you have done to prevent that if you had known when he was born, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, that's something to consider with kind of like traveling with pregnancy care. It's like I'm not being seen as often, so to get it all done at once would be really cool.
Yeah, and the genetic testing is pretty... We had to go back and forth a few times, but like as far as the actual testing goes and them giving you the information, they test your blood and then you can go check it out online once it's available.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, that would really work for me. I could get it done and we could kind of keep traveling and then check it out. Yeah.
So when I was researching, like when we got the possible diagnosis for Ember, I was researching just the genetic testing in general, and I saw a lot of stories. Like my cousin, her daughter has spinal bifida, and there was one story that I came across where like they didn't want to do the testing because of like religious reasons, and you know, I love my baby no matter what.
Right.
And then come to find out after a few years, then their daughter was diagnosed with that. But if they had done the testing before, they could have helped her in a lot of ways that they couldn't help her now because of it. And so it's like after doing all that research and like reading these stories about these people that were going through situations like that, it just really made me think. And it's like now that's always, I think, something I'm going to be an advocate for and suggest is that people do that testing, because it's not about religion. It's not about wanting to know if your baby's normal or not normal in the standard sense or whatever.
Right.
It's, are they okay? Is there anything that I can do to help them when they get here?
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, that's super eye-opening. I've never known genetic testing other than just kind of like, you know, wanting to know ahead of time, but it really is important that you don't let certain things like that brew when you could know. I mean, of course, it is an extra procedure, and for me, I'm doing like as low amount of procedures as possible, but that's something I'll definitely consider now, because we would hate to have missed something and then kind of be on this hunt for what it is. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, just something to think about.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, going to be it for this episode. So if you want to, go ahead and tell, you know, everyone like where they can find you as far as like social media goes and just anything that you have going on, like, you know, your shop. You can let them know like that's what you're doing for a living and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, so you can find me mostly on TikTok, Instagram under Lauren Gardenbelle, and then also on YouTube under that name too. I'll be kind of like sprucing that up here soon. And then our shop is laurengardenbelle.com/shop if you want to check out our business.
Lots of hippie fashion. It's really cute.
Bunch of boho clothing, and there's men's and women's.
I didn't know that there was men's.
Yeah, there's some men's
That's
stuff.
pretty cool. But thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you want to just hear things all about, you know, motherhood and I guess everything that there is to know as far as we know. But I hope you enjoyed our guest, Lauren, and please consider going to follow her on her social media accounts as well, and I will link them in the description, and I'll link her channel up here as well, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the next episode. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Cool.